We're on page 10. If you have
by them when we went to
this book.
understand
Maybe you guys will share a book.
Good time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're on the Hebrew side, so.
Page 10. Yesterday, Rabbi Avraham told us that on the common road of Avodat Hashem, there's not such a big difference. Everybody is obligated to follow the common road. I cannot tell you how many times we have to say this over and over and over again. You see now, in the last few months, you find all kinds of rabbis that have been caught in all kinds of crazy things. You have to teach the world, even a rabbi is not patur, is not exempt from following the Shulchan Aruch. He also has to follow the rules. And so when someone says, oh, I'm a rabbi, but because of this, I can touch you. You can do whatever you need to do, but not as a rabbi. It doesn't work that way. Oh, I'm a rabbi, so I could steal from... You don't steal from just because... There's no exemption from the law just because Judaism has a common road that everybody must follow. And he says, but there might be a difference. And the difference between people on the common road is as follows. Vim kayam hevdel dargan. If you find that there are different levels on the common road, en ze ela b'mispar ha-mitzvot, or b'mispar ha-pamim shehu over al ota mitzvah. It's only because of the amount of mitzvot which he keeps, or the amount of mitzvot which he does not keep. What do I mean?
You judge a person by how much they do.
Because we're saying on the common road, everyone has the same obligations and the same transgressions. So what can make them different? What would set them apart from each other?
If he actually does it or not.
Very nice. How much he does it or how much he doesn't do it. כי הוא יכול להיות שעובר על חוקה מפורשת, עולה עבירתו כעבירה גדולה, בהיותו נוטש כמה מצוות עושה ועובר כמה להבין. It could be that somebody who abandons many mitzvot is a worse transgressor than one who actually violates certain mitzvot. There are levels of mitzvot. ואילו חוטא אחר, but another one who's doing a sin, חטאתו פחותה, היות למצוות עשה ולא תעשה שעובר להן, מספרן מועט יותר. And the other one who's doing something wrong, it's not that he's okay, but he's doing averot that are smaller in nature than the ones the other one is doing. So yeah, that doesn't mean that there are no differences between the people in the common room. It just means that the differences are more quantitative than they are qualitative.
The most amazing thing I think I've ever seen in terms of Limud Torah, I saw a movie once about secular Torah scholars, Talmudic scholars. They knew every line, every reference. Jerusalem Talmud, rooms full of books, but they didn't do one thing. They were not shomer mitzvot at all.
Right.
It was all about
intellectual. Yeah, we have.
Amazing. Their erudition was incredible, but there was no observance at all. It's amazing. Good rabbah.
In the time of the Maskilim in Europe, you had people they grew up in yeshivot, and then they became absolutely not connected to anything. And you find that in Berlin in the 30s, you'd have these professors that would get together in university, over lunch, they would open Gemarot, and they would learn Gemara with no kippah and eating a ham sandwich. But they would study Talmud for an hour, they loved it, but it wasn't a heart thing, it was a head thing. Harav Peretz once told me, this is the first generation he ever met, where you find Talmidei Chachamim, you find Torah scholars, without Yirat Shamayim, that don't fear Hashem. You find people, they're very learned, but they have no connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That it used to be, not everybody was a Talmid Chacham, but everybody had a certain humility, a certain connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a different world. And so today, there's a famous rabbi, I don't want to mention his name. He was kind of a conservative rabbi. And many people are quoting him. You find all over the place, he's kind of like a Kabbalist and all kinds of things. And many Orthodox people quote him. Somebody was asking, can we learn or can we not learn it? I said, I don't know, what can I tell you? The man is a Torah scholar, for sure. He knows a lot. You read his books and you see full of sources. But did he really, really believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I can't tell you. I don't know about him. If he did, why would he choose to go there? Why did he come from Europe and choose to be with the conservative movement? And not to be with those who are Shomrei Torah Mitzvot? I don't know what to tell you. As I said, listen, we have so many Kabbalists and Poskim in our camp, we don't need to go look somewhere else for people who are maybe they were religious. I don't know. We don't need that.
They did the Parshat HaShavua.
Yeah, how?
Yeah. מה הוא רוצה הקדוש ברוך הוא ממך כי אם יראה אותו?
Very good. This is Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people.
יראת שמיים.
What is Hashem asking for you? All He's asking for you is to Yirat Shamayim, to fear Him.
Don't say that you should have 630 mitzvot.
Meaning the relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is what makes it important. I think people very often they confuse those things. When I was in yeshiva, you could learn a whole day, and you never once hear God's name. You're learning Shulchan Aruch, you're learning Gemara, you're learning Mishnah, you don't talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's very easy to learn Torah the whole day and not ever think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what do I ask from? I'm asking from you to know me, to yirah, to have awe of me, to have a relationship with me. You can't have a relationship with me if you don't talk about me. Yeah, it's something we have to do. Yosef HaTzadik. We say Yosef HaTzadik was famous in Egypt because he was always saying Baruch Hashem. Thank God. Everything is thank God. So somebody once told me, you shouldn't say thank God, you should say Baruch Hashem. I said, when I speak to you, I say Baruch Hashem. But when I speak to some guy on the street, I say, thank God. Why? What happens if I tell him Baruch Hashem? Doesn't know what it means. Instead, I'm going to tell him thank God. He should thank God. Yosef HaTzadik, if the Egyptians understood that he was saying thank God, probably he wasn't saying it in Hebrew. Probably he was saying it in whatever they spoke in Egypt. In Mitzrit, whatever language they spoke.
Paro couldn't find the name of Hashem in any of his books of gods.
It wasn't in the encyclopedia.
Right.
We didn't even make him to the catalog of gods. Understand? So, it could be that two people are doing the same sin. But the difference between them is how often do you do it. You can have two people who speak Lashon Hara. One person spends his whole life saying Lashon Hara. You're just in his presence for 5 minutes, you're going to hear Lashon Hara. You have another guy, he also spoke Lashon Hara, but once a week he speaks Lashon Hara. Only on Shabbat, when he comes to synagogue, he speaks Lashon Hara. Because when else are you going to talk to people? Or he only speaks Lashon Hara when he goes to his cousin's house. So they're both doing the same Avera, but the difference between them is frequency of Averot. This is important. Things add up. It's almost like a bank account. You know how many deposits, how many withdrawals, how many...
That's why it says in Pirkei Avot, everything is measured.
Very good.
There's an eye that sees, there's a book that keeps a record.
Everything you do is written inside of a book. That person has to know. Our rabbis also say, you should be careful. This is last, when we read Ekev, we have every big mitzvah and a small mitzvah, you should think of it the same. You don't know what they're worth. You don't know a small mitzvah like tzitzit. You wear it. Or you put on tefillin, and you stay 5 more minutes with tefillin after. You learn some tilim, you say some chok Yisrael, you learn something after. You don't know what those 5 minutes, you didn't do anything. You didn't right now go and pull somebody drowning out of a river. But you don't know what it's worth. Every mitzvah is worth something. אין דומה עבירתו של מי שלא עשה ציצית על טלית שהוא לובשה יום-יום. You cannot compare a person who is wearing a 4-cornered garment but did not put on a tzitzit, and he wears it every day, or מי שהתמיד בהקפת פאותיו, or somebody who always cut off his peot. Cutting off his peot doesn't mean like long peot. We have our peot, we have what's on our head. So somebody who always cuts, is always making sure every morning he wakes up and he shaves his face, it's not the same as the person who does that only once. Somebody who only did that once, below tzitzit. Once he put on clothing without tzitzit. Talita chayevet b'tzitzit. Oh, he kitz peotav pam echad v'chida, he cut off his peot once. Uvichgon zeh yeh evdel darga b'derech ha'am. And in this way you're going to find that there are differences in the way of the people. There are different levels inside of the nation on the common road based on the amount that you do certain things. Like I said, quantity, not quality, but quantity. My father's Yemenites, I don't know if you know, they had long peot, like the Hasidim almost. They were smaller. And so my father and his younger brother, Sion, they were little kids. They were 6, 7, I don't know how old they were. They had long peot like the Yemenites. And my uncle was rebellious. Everything he did, everything he wanted to do, he did. This is in Israel in the 50s. And so he goes to the barber. My grandmother sent them with a few, lirot, whatever it was they had. Go and get a haircut. So they went to go get a haircut, and he's sitting on the chair. And he must have been only 4 or 5, my uncle, my father's younger brother. And he tells the barber, cut off my peot. So we cut off your peot. Your father sent you? I said, yeah. Did he tell you to cut off your peot? I said, no, but I want them off. He said, why? I said, because I don't like the way they look. I said, well, isn't your father going to scream at you? He said, sure he's going to scream at me, but he's not going to be able to make them come back. And so he cut off his peot. Now it doesn't, he did it once. His whole life he didn't continue doing it, so he's okay. When you find a difference on the common road, it's a difference in the quantity, the amount of times that a person does something. As I tell that story, I once shared it with you on Pesach. There was a lady who called up the rabbi. The rabbi had some milk fall into my chicken soup. I was making coffee for my husband, I was making chicken soup on the stove, my milk fell into... He asked her how much milk, how much chicken soup, he did a whole form. Batel b'shishim, it's nullified in 60, you can have the chicken soup. Okay. 6 months go by, the rabbi doesn't get any phone calls from this lady. Nothing. Finally one day he's in the shuk, he meets her in the marketplace, and he says, what happened? I don't hear from you anymore. The rabbi, to tell you the truth, ever since you gave me that recipe of the chicken soup with the milk, my family loves it. We make it every Shabbat. Yeah? So, she did it once, it was a mistake, but every time to do it is already a whole different ballpark of Avon. We have to teach people that there is a middle ground, and the middle ground depends how many times you do something, how many times you don't do something. There is a gray area. It's harder for us to accept that there's a gray area, because we cannot quantify the gray area. We don't know how to put it in a box. You know, when somebody asks you, so what are you? What do they ask you?
What are you? Like a profession? Or?
Bro, sometimes they ask you for profession. Sometimes they ask you for religion, like, are you Jewish? Oh, I have a friend who's Jewish. It's like when somebody tells you, I have a pet who's Jewish. You know, like I have a friend who's Jewish. Or somebody once said, I always get this. People always ask me, where are you from? San Diego. Now, where are you from? Where am I from?
No one here's from here.
Right? I was born in San Diego. No, your parents. Israel. Born there? They were born in Israel, yes. Well, where were they? Oh, my father's family's from here, my mother's from Iraq. I have to tell you the story, the whole story. You need to from. People, why do they ask though? Because in their head they need to know, oh, listen, you are Jewish. So Jewish fits in this box. I can put it on my shelf. Oh, you are Moroccan. Good. I'm going to put you in this box, put it on the shelf. Oh, you're a lawyer. Good. I know which box to put. But it's much easier to put people in boxes than it is to accept that people are different. There are different flavors. It's like going to the ice cream store. But I say Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors. So the people have as many as there are people. Kashem, she'en partzuven, just like their faces are not similar. Kach en derteim shavot, just like their opinions are not going to be the same. How many opinions do you have? The same amount of people as exist in the world. That's the amount of opinions as you have in the world. So Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Avraham is training us to not see everything black and white. To be aware that there are different levels. Even in what we say, there are no levels. Even there are levels. Even there's a gray area. And our hope is to make sure that we're able to reach out to everybody who's in those gray areas, especially ourselves. I want to share with you a story. When I was in high school, so I had an interesting rabbi. I had a very close relationship with him. And then towards the end of the year of learning Torah with him, our relationship went south. I don't know why they say that, went south. It went bad. It wasn't a good relationship.
Went down to Mexico.
I don't know what they mean when they say went south. Yeah.
South of the border.
What do they say in Canada? It went...
Went to
So we had...
What do they say in Antarctica?
we had an interesting situation. We stopped talking. It was a very bad situation. I was very down. He was a big Torah scholar, but he didn't understand people very well. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to my Rebbe, the Kalavar Rebbe, in Williamsburg. And I came to tell him that I have a problem. I had a rabbi that I was very close with, and we're not close anymore. And he told me, don't worry, soon you're going to meet a rabbi who's going to be even better than this rabbi. I said, how do you know? I said, there's two kinds of rabbis. So open up a Gemara. The Gemara says that you should try to marry off your daughter to a Bat Talmid Chacham, the daughter of a Torah scholar. That if it doesn't work to marry her off to the daughter of a Torah scholar, then marry her off to a Bat Gdolei Hador, the daughter of the leaders of the generation. So what's the difference between a Torah scholar and the leaders of the generation? So he showed me that a Torah scholar is somebody who learns a lot of Torah. When you learn Torah, everything is black and white. Mutar, asur. It's allowed, it's not allowed. Tahor, it's pure. Tameh, it's not pure. Everything is black and white. This Torah scholar, when he sees somebody who's gray, he doesn't know what to do with them. He doesn't know to accept them, to not accept them, to fight them, to love them. He doesn't know what to do. So it's a problem. A Gadol Hador is someone who's great. He's a great person, but of the generation. He knows that there's not just black, there's not just white, there's also a dog, there's a generation that you have to apply the Torah to. There are people that you have to apply the Torah to. And the difference between the Torah scholar and the Gadol Hador, the Torah scholar is not fit to lead the generation. Because he's not appreciative of the generation. The Gadol Hador, maybe he's second best when it comes to Torah learning. But when it comes to people, he's on the higher pedestal. Because he knows how to take the Torah that everyone's learning and apply it to reality, apply it to Mitzvot. And that's our goal. That's our goal, to follow on that road of not just being Torah scholars, but also being the Gadol Hador. B'ezrat Hashem.
Jean-Claude, before, can you do one short nigun for us? Very short.
Something we know, maybe. It's almost Slichot, no? Maybe something from Slichot.
Slichot, if you want, certainly. What's for example, let's say, this one, how do you do? Shiken, no bedaki alken, yesh lenu abken, banim, lo takir, vetzideko, לפניך נזכיר כחנה בן יקיר
ונמצא דמו על קיר. בעזרת השם. אמן, שנה טובה ומתוקה. אמן.
שבפעם הבאה שאני בא אני אראה באמת פה
תתברכו מן השמיים, בעזרת השם. בעזרת השם. כל טוב.